Hype Man, Raj Nation, the GOAT to market. From Hype HQ in Chicago, Illinois, Startup Hype Man presents the GOAT to Market Show. What's up, everyone? I am your host, Raj Nation, the founder and chief pitch artist of Startup Hype Man. This podcast is where we bring you founders, company leaders, and creatives who are building it, who are doing it, who have been there and done that. And they pull back the curtain on their go-to-market strategies so that you can build a venture that you love and become the GOAT of your industry. Want first listen on episodes before anyone else? Subscribe to our newsletter at startuphypeman.com. You will get alerts every Sunday morning when we release new episodes. All right, let's hear how today's guest is becoming the GOAT. You have been full-time for a little over a year now.
Yeah.
And I've been at this for 9 years.
Legend.
I would say, well, actually 11, because I had a different business before this that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I have been without a real employer for over a decade. What has surprised you through the first year-ish that you thought would be easier and is harder, or you thought would be harder and is easier?
The hardest thing has been getting rid of the old wiring and installing new wiring. And what I mean by that is reestablishing my relationship with my work and reevaluating how my career and self-worth are intertwined. I did not think I would be uttering those sentences, let alone all the cascading thoughts and events that have come from them in the last 18 months when I went solo full-time. I thought like, oh, it's sales and marketing and finance, and I got to be selling all the time and promote. Like, you have to be all the things all the time. And that is true. And that's what I expected. So I'm a little less surprised by that. But the bigger thing was kind of like, hey, I get to decide what time I want to start work. That's kind of a cool thought. Like, it's very, very rare that I have anything before 9 a.m. Pacific. And whoever I meet with at 9, I get to pick, and that's super cool. Like, I really enjoy that. And I can go to the gym at 1 p.m. if I want. Whereas I used to be like, man, if I'm lucky, I'll do it at 5 a.m. before the day starts, or 5 p.m., in that little tweening block between work and personal life. And so I think like the ability and giving myself the freedom to say, hey, actually, you can design the day any way that you want. And this doesn't have to be a one-off. Like, this can be the new work style, lifestyle. That's what I wasn't really prepared for. And I think a lot of that might sound very utopian, right? Like, it's all good and great. And there's days where it is. And there's days where you're slammed if you want to make rent. Like, you just got to get a lot of shit done. But I think a lot of it was like me believing in my self-worth, like that I have enough skill to pay the bills. Like, I have enough skill to sell my services and make enough money.
Yeah.
But with the old wiring of working as hard as you can, 9 to 5, weekends, sacrificing, yada, yada. And now I'm at a point like it's been 5 quarters. Like, oh, this business works. And actually it's okay to take a half day randomly because there's stuff moving forward. I don't know if this is making sense. I feel like I'm getting a little rambly, but it's like, I'm trying to say freedom without being like freedom.
I've experienced that, I think, in a little bit different way. And I think the idea of like, I create my own schedule works to a point, because I could be like, I have this rule that I don't take a meeting before X o'clock, but then someone else who I want to meet with might have a rule that they don't take a meeting until after.
Right.
And then it's like, well, one of you has to give at some point. And like, I've got a client in Germany. I can only meet with them at like 8:30 or 8 o'clock because it's already there 4 o'clock or whatever. Right. So there are things that like break the system, quote unquote. And I'm okay with that. And I think originally I thought, oh, I can go do like the midday gym thing. And every now and then I do, but then I also find like and I will say part of what helped me understand this is taking a test last year and finding out I have a variation of ADHD is like, once I'm like in a certain state, if I break that, then the inertia is so strong, it's hard to get back into it. So like,
Yeah.
sometimes do I maybe take like a 12 o'clock yoga class? Sure. But it's not like really my standard. And I probably do. I end up working a normal, quote unquote, normal work day of like 8:30-ish to about 5-ish, 4:30, 5-ish, sometimes a little bit later. But that said, like, for example, a couple of weeks ago, the day or 2 days before, I get a text, got a ticket to Cubs playoff game 1. It's at 2 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, 2:08 p.m. start time. And so I did have the ability to move around a few meetings and clear the afternoon to be able to go to that game. And that's nice to know, like, I can do that. Or I remember, this is probably 4 years ago now, on a Sunday, getting a text from a friend being like, hey, I'm part of a friend's golf scramble at Medina, which is, a PGA course. And he had to drop out. Everything's already paid for. Do you want to be our fourth? And I was like, yeah. And, I moved things around and made it happen. I didn't necessarily have to, like, quote unquote, ask for like time off or any of that stuff. So that flexibility is nice. Or someone's in town and I could be like, yeah, I'll take a few hours off here and whatever. That flexibility, I think, is really nice. I think the other side of that coin, though, is when you are responsible for your income and there's not really others who are like putting in the time or picking up the slack.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use that power responsibly. Otherwise, you just end up taking a lot of time off and not making money.
And you might over rotate in certain days and weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I get it, dude. Like, I think too, though, is like, you said like, we don't have to ask for time off, but it's also like, you don't need forgiveness, or there's no, like, even if your boss is super cool, you don't want the word to get out. At certain companies, like taking a half day to a baseball game, even as legendary as the Cubs are, like, could get you judged and could like lower your reputation. Whereas for you, it's like, you've earned that freedom. So I feel like it's not it's almost like a double positive, where it's like, I no longer have the worry of like loss, and I feel super proud that I'm able to do this and giving myself the freedom. So it's like this double, like the distance doubles in that way of like how how cool it is, and how like I feel lighter, if that makes sense. Like then, and that's a tough thing, because I feel for my clients who are like in-house B2B marketers who are living the very opposite, lifestyle. And I know it because I've lived that. So it's good to be both reminded of it constantly and still empathetic to it, and also giving myself the permission to just, dude, go enjoy it. You got Laker tickets, you got golf scramble game paid for, like, just say yes and move those meetings from the car on the way there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I think too, the other thing that I did a lot of things wrong when I got started, but a couple of the things that I think I did right are in this idea of time and kind of work ownership. Is when you start something, you tend to mirror the behavior that you got accustomed to from wherever you were before. So like a good example is, and not that I, my only employer outside of myself, not that it was it was a great company, but the thing that I noticed was, like, let's say we would go out to a client meeting, and that was a thing, right? You go to the office or whatever, you meet at a Starbucks. We'd go have a client meeting, and I'd go like with my manager or multiple team members. We'd get back, and then on the elevator ride back up to the office, just in that like 20 seconds, everyone in the elevator is on their phone checking email. And then they go back to their desk to continue looking at email.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I remember looking at this, and I partook in it as well at the time. But then when I started building my stuff, I was like, I don't have to like be available all the time, and it doesn't have to be the worst thing. And then I started to like structurally institute that as well. So now, like, when companies work with us, the contract, there's a addendum in the contract that lists the company holiday schedule. And literally, like, my birthday is one of the holidays. It's company holiday schedule. And then underneath that, it says, like, this does not include any individual, PTO or vacation or travel days, which will be communicated in advance. It also says Startup Hype Man is closed at 1 p.m. in every team member's time zone on Fridays. We do not take calls or emails after 1 p.m. on Fridays.
Nice.
And then they have to put their initials of acknowledgement on that at the end of the contract.
Smart.
And so the terms are set up front. And also, I do not answer emails at night or on weekends. Now, I may look at something at night or on a weekend, like if I'm in passing or whatever, and I might even type my response. But I schedule send that shit for Monday
Yeah.
or for the next day because, and I don't know if I should be, saying this out loud for companies that are working with us, but the idea is if you start giving away your time, people will take it. And if you don't respect your time, other people have no reason to respect it either. So the second you reply at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, you've now set the condition that it is okay to reach you at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. And if I don't respond, now something's wrong.
Now you're out of character.
Right. And that's what I've been very, I think, strict about. And, is there an exception every now and then? Of course, but that's the exception, not the rule. And that kind of like structure, I think more people would benefit from because very, very rarely, if ever, does something collapse because you didn't respond at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night. And a lot of times people will resolve their own stuff because they couldn't reach you.
I learned that in-house when I had a team, and it was like, you just didn't see something for 4 hours, maybe you're at the doctor, maybe you just off that day, whatever. And then it like, you get back online and you're like, oh, this was like, you see the thread and it starts with like, oh, this is kind of a big deal. Not a huge deal, but you're like, this is a thing. And then as time, 1 hour later, 2 hours later, you see these threads come in where it's like, wait, actually, I think maybe this will work. Okay. Hey, we decided to deploy this. Hey, actually, we figured it out and everything's good. Never mind. And it's like, oh, I learned later that I never shared this before. If I got like P0 is the biggest, P1, if I got like a P2, P3 level, and this is unofficial. This is me just dictating.
Wait, you're using in-house term. What is P1, P2, P3?
Like priority 0.
Okay.
P0
that's super in-house speak.
Oh yeah. I think it's maybe someone tell me if it's
okay.
military or corporate, because those do intertwine.
Okay.
But no, it's just like a concept of like, I think actually, no, you're probably right. It's probably from engineering, like a P1 bug, P0 problem. That's
okay.
Point being, P0 is like literally stop everything. We need to solve this. P1, you can understand. P3. Right. So my point being, if I saw like a P2, P3, which is like important, needs to be solved with some urgency, but no one's going to lose a job or freak out about it, I would just ignore it for like 3 hours and be like, and 75% of the time they solved it on their own. And they're better off for it. I saved time. The company's better off for it. It was actually a more efficient way, probably short and long term. So yeah, I just ignore small things. I think it's also helped now too with our lives and our businesses, right? It's like when I catch myself, I say freaking out to get us there, but like getting nervous, getting anxious, uncertain. I'm like, is this really like is this flopped? This meeting sucked. They don't like what I submitted. Is it really going to like ruin the whole? No. Yeah. No, it's not that big of a deal. The stakes are a lot lower than we anticipate.
I did a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. I worked with a consultant and did a core values exercise. And that's now, what's established for the company, because I've got, a bench of freelancers, but they're all signing on to the core values as well.
Yeah, of course.
And one of them is around personal agency, but it's like, what does that really mean? It's like you're trusted to like, get things done, but also respect the agency of others and respect the time of others. And so if you ask a question about like how to do something or whatever, you can't ask the question unless you have said either what you think the answer is or what you've already tried and has not worked.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're just expecting someone else to like do your own thinking for you. And so anytime that does happen, I reply back. I'm like, I'm not answering until you tell me what you think the answer is or what you've already done. And these are all the things that I think like, I don't know. I think back to the company I used to work at, and, it was like I want to say it was like a peak, a 250 person company. And And on the client services team, we had a case study database. And if you're in sales or you're in account management, like you are constantly accessing case studies that you're sending to your prospects or whatever. But there was also an email alias called like case studies, and that would go to every other account manager and sales rep. And it would literally just be like, hey, does anyone have the case study for this? And very rarely was our first move to just check the database to see if it already is there. Our first move was let me bother 70 other people to see if they can send me the attachment instead. And again, there's a lot of these like, I don't know, like corporate isms that just like, if you're not conscious of them, they really do carry through.
Yeah, it's a habit. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So it's like if you're used to, but here's the thing too, you're also conditioning yourself and the team to say, I don't have to think, I don't have to look, I just have to ask.
Yeah.
And
that
will, what do you think? Like, and that's why I always joke, like people act like as soon as I close this laptop, I'm not a like the CMO that you're selling to. The second she closes the laptop, it's the same person. All of her behaviors, her quirks, her preference, all that is the same. It's the exact same. So it's like, yeah, the way that you act and behave and work, treat other people, treat yourself is going to be the exact same as you do externally. It's just with different people, and people you usually care about more than your coworkers.
How has that mindset applied or not applied as you have gotten to, I'm presuming through your work, you've gotten to like meet interesting and cool people who you admire, who you respect, who you haven't had a chance to speak to before, but now you do. Has that at all like changed your perception of like almost like having like the awe or like fame factor of other people?
That's a fucking great question. Yes. And I say this because recently I got to meet Ryan Holiday, best-selling author.
Wait, he's the ego is the enemy, right? And
the obstacle is the way.
Or the obstacle is the way.
He has like 10 books. I only know a few of them. And I've read none of them, but I'll explain why. So his whole thing, for folks who maybe don't know who Ryan Holiday is, he basically his story is like he read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which is all about Stoicism. And he has written books before this, but his big claim to fame was writing The Daily Stoic. I think that's his best-selling book. Someone can correct me later, or you now. And that's what he's written a bunch of books on him. So I had known of him. I've seen his videos, but like I have not involved myself in much Stoicism. And so about a month ago at Exit 5, which is Dave Gerhardt's event out in Vermont, or the event's called Drive, Exit 5 is the company. Ryan Holiday was keynote. So I was like, super cool. There's only like 200 people here. There's a decent chance I meet this guy. And so at the local Burlington, Vermont bookstore, massive city of like 12,000 people, I think, something like that. I bought the book Meditations. I found the version that has Ryan Holiday's foreword on it. So I'm like, cool. I was meaning to get into this. I like to start at the source. Like if someone puts me on a TV show, I start at episode 1. So I bought Meditations so I could later get into his books. Anyway, so he does his keynote. We're in the event. He does his keynote, and as he leaves, I know they're like gearing up for like a 1-minute spiel and then the break. And I'm like, at the break, he's going to get swarmed. And so I'm like, duck out. So I ducked out. I meet him like on the right. So he goes out the left door. I'm going out the right door. And I'm like, I know I'm going to catch this guy towards the entrance of this building. Like I'm going to get him. And you said like, how does it change how I behave? And I think like as my whole thing is like, what is his mindset right now? Right now, this is unofficial. This is all speculation. My guess, he flew into Burlington just for this because it's a small town. He probably got here 30 minutes before. He probably wants to leave now. And he definitely, like, unless he was paid, there wasn't a book signing. There wasn't a meet and greet. So he didn't get paid for that because he gets paid for those things. So I'm like, hey, if I'm going to go in and ask him for something, which he usually gets paid for, I need to be, I need to be as likable as possible. And I need to be as brief as possible and super clear with what I want. So I went up to him and I was like, hey, Ryan, great job. Because everyone wants to be told great job afterward. I'm just breaking the ice, cracking it. And I was like, hey, I actually grew up in Sacramento area too. Relatability and be likable. Not a lot of people grew up in the Sacramento area. So I lead into that. He's like, oh yeah, exchange real quick. And I was like, hey man, I'll be super honest. I haven't read your books yet, but I know this is the book that you said to start with. I was just wondering if you sign it for me real quick and I'll get out of your way. This whole interaction was 30 seconds. He wrote something for 10 more seconds and that was it. And then the swarm of people came and I was already out of the way. I was like, I'm done. I got what I wanted. And so I was like, I felt very proud of that because I got what I wanted very intentionally, but I think I did it in a very empathetic way. You know what I mean? Which I'm like, this is just a dude who's really freaking good at writing and has a lot of fame and probably a good amount of money from it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to be treated like that. He wants to be treated as the guy who is, you know, has things to do and doesn't really want to be bothered, which is all of us pretty much all the time. So I don't know if that answered the question 100%, but you kind of mentioned like someone like meeting other people of fame. And I try to be so respectful. Like I try to be kind of like forgettable, excuse me. I actually kind of want to be like, you know, pleasant in the moment, but I don't want to be like that guy that demanded a autograph or demanded a selfie. I didn't even bother for a selfie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's seeing the human in the person, not like the persona. Profile of the person or the persona of them. Yeah. Right. Like, for me, I've gotten to meet some cool people, and like, I won't lie, it is cool. Like I have gotten through my stuff. I've gotten to meet Joakim Noah, Common, Vic Mensa. Who am I blanking?
Those are legendary Chicago people.
Yeah. And I've gotten to literally introduce Twista on stage. like I got to be Twista's hype man. And to me, what's been cool is like particularly with Vic Mensa and Common, and is literally like being able to tell Vic Mensa like, hey, the first song on my album is heavily inspired by the first song on your 2018 album or whatever it was. And then telling Common like, hey, like I draw so much inspiration from the way you rap and the kind of way you put music together, and it's really like helped me become a better artist. And just it's like, so I've got a buddy from college who's been rapping for a while, and one of the things he told me a long time ago, possibly even on this podcast, was how he almost does what he does so that he can meet his heroes and be able to thank them. And I like had no idea like what he meant at the time. And now like I totally get it. Like it's, above all else, I just want someone to know if they've had an impact on me. I want them to know that they've had an impact on me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and it's hard to do that. And I don't think that message gets across. If you're like, oh my God, I've been dying to meet you for so long.
Yeah, the fanboy fangirl thing, like it's so well intentioned, like my wife Shelly always jokes like, if she meets J. Cole, she's not gonna be able to talk. Like she's just gonna be like, can I just give you, and then cry and then hug him and then like walk away. Like, and I get it. And I'm sure you've met someone famous where that's like, you probably held it in, but like, you're like, oh, I can't, like if Steph Curry walked in it'd be really weird if he walked in my house right now, but if I met him today,
it's the wrong house.
that'd be like, it would be hard for me to keep it together.
Yeah.
But when you think of like, while it kind of quote feels good to get all that, like it's all that excitement is bottled up and it feels really good to get it out. And a lot of times I think they think because they're showering this affection that it's being received as such, but you've seen it as a third party where you're like, dude, coming on way too strong, or gal coming on way too strong. And this person's like on the receiving end of like, oh, just get me out of here. This is awful. And so what I'm talking about and what you're talking about and your friend is talking about is like reversing that, which is not, how can I emotionally throw up on you and adore you that way, which doesn't feel good? How do I avoid being selfish and just getting, taking a fast selfie or whatever? And it's really like, hey, what would make the interaction great for this hero of mine or this person I admire? Yeah. Slowing down and telling them that. Like, that's it. And then your selfie, your book signing, whatever is like peanuts. It's like, yeah, dude, of course I'll sign your album or whatever.
Well, and I think too, it's like, at the end of the day, we're all just people doing our jobs, like, and if you really break it down to that, it's like, like any professional athlete, it's like, I'm just watching someone else do their job.
And I like that a lot that you word it that way. And that's why I think like fame is a weird thing. And obviously some people are famous because like they're famous for being famous. And that's like more of a different thing. But like, yeah, Steph Curry, whom I absolutely like, I literally have like a small shrine in my office of like Warriors. Like but I admire him too, like his person. And so yeah, I think it's like once you recognize like this is just another guy who has the same emotional roller coasters we do, the same desires to provide for his family and be a good person. He just happens to be super filthy rich and on national television every week during the basketball season because he's so good at his job. But that doesn't mean he wants to be treated differently.
Speaking of famous people, I do need to interrupt the conversation for a moment and give a shout out to our sponsor, Code Launch. And I said speaking of famous people because as of this recording, I have just come off of Code Launch Guadalajara, the Code Launch Latam finals. And when this episode is airing, most likely we will have just had the Code Launch World Championships in Dallas, where former NFL wide receiver Mark Clayton will have been a judge on stage. Code Launch is an amazing platform for you as startup founders because it is so hard to find reliable development help that doesn't cost money or take equity out of you. Code Launch gives you elite software development talent without cash and without any equity, literally for free. And then on top of that, you get to work with me to get your pitch developed, and then we put you on a huge stage where you can showcase your company in front of hundreds of stakeholders. And it is a show. That's why Code Launch refers to itself as venture-tainment. It's one part venture, one part entertainment. You will be amazed at the opportunities that come out of it if you get to take the Code Launch stage. The next application window is coming up soon. You can find out more at codelaunch.com, or you can use the special link in this episode description. That's a Hype Man verified link. And what that's going to do is if you choose to apply for Code Launch, your application is going to cut the line above everyone else and will be flagged for priority review. As someone who has had the responsibility before of having to review applications for something, I can tell you review fatigue is real. It's a lot better to be near the top of the list than to be in the middle of the list. So if you want to get your application flagged for advanced review, you're going to want to use that unique link that's in this episode description. We code, you launch. It's Code Launch. Again, codelaunch.com, but use the link in the episode description. And I'll probably, or maybe I'll see you at a future Code Launch event. Now, we are in part 2 today with my friend Devin Reed, founder, CEO of The Reeder. And we're just like two friends who are kicking it here, talking about life and business. So we talked about the famous people side of it. Now I'm curious, where are you at with the comparison game side of things? So how do you view other people who are around you in your sphere? How are you looking at competitors, things like that?
By the way, you just skated into the smoothest in-show ad read of my career. So I speaking of giving credit where it's due, freaking 10 out of 10. And my response was, that's not an ad. That's a hell of an offer. I was really kept layering it on there. And I was like, this is good. I don't know. I want to buy it and I don't even need it. So very well done.
Thank you.
Comparison culture. Yeah. So I work with an awareness coach. If you want to get in the vicinity of what
hang on. An awareness coach. I've never heard of that as a categorical form of coach before. Can you take a second and talk about what that is?
Yes, which I tell you this because like if most people ask, I'll just be like, oh yeah, I do this like kind of like head nod, like I'm therapy for about 10 years now. It's not traditional therapy by a mile. And she doesn't even call herself an awareness coach. She's so awesome and out there that she's like, I don't care what you call it. Like, call it whatever you need, but she doesn't have like a website or anything. And so I call her an awareness coach because she has helped me become very aware of the way that I think about myself and others and why I think that way and how it is affecting my actions. I'd say therapy is the closest like ballpark. I would say it's probably a good mix of stoicism, cognitive behavioral therapy, and some magic, some magic that is her own in her own style. So that's the best I can kind of describe it. But I gave you that context because she helped me understand that the human brain is built on comparison. It is built for comparing. If you think about the next action you're going to take, is this salmon I'm going to eat for dinner? Is that a good choice? Or ordering it, you will compare it to the last time you ordered salmon, or compare it to the last time you ordered a meal in a restaurant like this, or compare it to the last time you had a meal where you ate fish with a friend and your breath smelled afterwards and you got called out for it, right? You're going to do that all very quickly, or some level of that. And so once you understand that the brain is built that way, you can understand that it's natural, first of all. And so comparing, like, I think a lot of people say, like, stop comparing yourself to other people. And I'm here to say, like, I don't think that that's practical. I think what's better is to be aware that you're going to compare people, but instead of comparing yourself like Devin to Raj, I try to compare Devin to Devin of 2020, Devin of 2010, Devin at 2008, who was graduating high school and barely decided to go to college. And so when I think about how I felt about myself at those times and my career trajectory and my lifestyle, I compare like myself now to that and to where I want to get to, instead of, you know, oh man, Raj's been doing this for 9 years. Like he went to a baseball game on Tuesday. I haven't done that. Like, man, I guess I need to be better so I can do that. Or I didn't get invited to a scramble. Maybe I need to make more friends. Like, you know, using examples from our conversation, obviously, but like, those aren't that out there thoughts. Like we've all had probably worse or less rational ones. And so I give you all that context also to just to say, like, definitely still quote unquote guilty of it. But I find myself much, much, much more fulfilled in just living a joyous life when I can stay aware and disciplined in comparing myself to myself, my previous version, versus someone who has more followers, money, accolades, cooler clothes, better shoes. Well, that's impossible. I have the best shoes, but kidding. But you know, the truth is, like, and the other thing is, like, do you feel good about yourself? Like, I think my shoes are awesome. So if someone's like wears really cool shoes, I'm not like comparing. I'm like, oh, Raj, dude, those are sick. Like, dap up. You know what I mean? Like sharing the love, sharing positivity. And if you find yourself looking at other people's success and being negative or unhappy for any reason, it's actually more of in my opinion, a reflection of how you view yourself in your life that you are projecting on someone else.
So now take that, and because I know you have some level of like competitive nature to you as well, right?
Too much.
So now how does that reconcile against that inherent competitive nature?
Yeah, it's hard, man, because I'm to the same awareness coach. I told her, I'm like, I told her like a couple months ago, I'm like, I'm struggling because part of me is like Buddhism and Stoicism, which like things are what they are, like want not, right? Be content with what you have. And then I got this competitive Kobe Bryant side of me that is like, you know, what is the Art of War, which is like destroy your enemies completely, only win, be number one. Like I have both of those things. And so I've kind of in my past ricocheted back and forth, like, you know, trying to be one or the other. And the truth is I'm both. And so I told her, I feel like I'm the ambitious Buddha. And she's laughing. Like, that's
so you compare yourself to God is what you just said.
Yeah, I'm the ambitious Buddha. Like I'm Kobe and Buddha, man. Like I'm both. I am no deity, to be clear, but you know what I mean? Like, and so I've accepted that. And like there is conflict because of that, but I don't want to want nothing. You know, like I want to succeed. I have goals and I love achieving them. And so, yeah, there is a natural conflict there. What I've noticed too, though, is like, you know, when you see someone for whatever, anything could be online, in person, whatever, and you get that flare internally of like maybe envy or jealousy, or it's, you know, it's that comparison of like, why don't I have that? Or shit, I should have that. Or I'm not good enough. Why don't I have that? I catch that thought. I've gotten very disciplined at catching that thought and be like, well, hold on. What does that person have? And do I really want that? Or is that some new thing that just got added to my list of desires? Right. And it's like, oh, I actually don't want that shirt that Raj has. That's really cool and better than mine today. What I really want is a wardrobe that reflects my personality, that makes me feel good when I step out. Because if I had that, I wouldn't be comparing to Raj. I would be complimenting Raj. So I go, oh, okay, so there's something else going on I need to go fix. Or is it even really worth fixing? And maybe you just accept that the dude had a better shirt today and that's okay. Like, you know, kind of got to figure it out.
I think I generally like, how do I phrase this? I generally don't try to like concern myself with what other people are doing unless it starts to step into like my turf. And then I'm like, oh, you come at the king, you best not miss.
Yeah.
And So, I definitely have moments where I'm like, I'll see someone, I'm like, I should be doing that. But it's not so much about like they shouldn't have it and more about like I also should get an opportunity like that. And it's I would know it's one part envy, but it's one part like, what do I need to do to make that happen? Like one part motivation almost.
Which is, I think, is healthy.
Yeah, perhaps. And I think the other side of it too is like it's constantly reminding yourself of like, where are you at? Kind of what you said before. It's where are you at in respective to your own journey? So like, I would venture to say, I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to make an educated guess that in the first 5 quarters of your company, I personally think your revenue has your year revenue, your first year revenue probably has exceeded any of my own year revenue in 8 or 9 years of doing this. And I could look at that and be like, what the hell? Like, he just got started. And I think, like, instead, the way I try and look at it is like, it probably should be that case. Look at and I'm saying this with compliments, like, look at the foundation you started with. I started with zero network. Like, I didn't know anyone who ran a startup when I started. Yep. I didn't have any clout. I had built no credibility online. I had a previous business that was in a separate, function altogether that, had a small community, and that was kind of it. But none of that really transferred over. And I didn't have years of experience working in an established marketing role to even have like levels of business sophistication that I somehow had to like figure out along the way. So it makes logical sense that you probably have advanced past me in far less time, and that's okay. And in fact, that should be the case, and I should be happy about that, not looking at that like, well, this motherfucker didn't pay his dues.
Yeah, which is easy to do when you see other people, and I'm not, it seems like the you me example, but just in general, where it's like maybe they grew faster or whatever. The thing too is like I try, and to be clear, I used to struggle with this. Like, it would like the fire would light immediately, and then it would either be like hyper motivation, gotta go work harder, or I would spiral in the opposite direction of like lack of self-worth. Like, why am I so bad? Blah, blah, blah. So that's why I feel very confident talking about it now. And one of the things that helped me was like, if someone's quote unquote beating me or outpacing me or whatever, I'm like, don't get angry, get curious. Like, to your point, you're like, he's doing something different, me or other people. And you're like, all right, well, let's look at this objectively and logically. It's like, all right, well, this happened at this point to his career. I didn't have, or, hey, they actually had this and yada, yada. And it's like, I also remember too, is like, we only see what usually people want us to see. We don't see the whole picture. It's like you've probably seen online. It's like, man, if it wasn't for my dad giving me a $10 million loan at 24, I never would have made it. It's like, oh yeah. Maybe that's why you own a $10 million house and I don't in my 30s. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like a mix of all of that. And so I think too, is like, once I just realized like comparing literally just makes everything worse. And like, I never am better off for it. Yeah. There's that positive motivation if you channel it correctly. Mm-hmm. But to the point, if you're like looking around, wondering why is everyone above me and why aren't I here? Think how much like mind space you're giving that, instead of being like, cool, get curious. And I had an example of this. I was like, dude, Eddie's newsletter, Eddie Schlaner, he's a good friend, Chicago guy. His newsletter is growing way faster than mine. And it irritates me in the fun, competitive way.
Sure.
And so one afternoon, I just looked at his newsletter, and on a handwritten piece of paper, I just analyzed everything. Like, why do I think he's making this decision? Okay, he's using this CTA here. I wonder why. What emotion do I feel at this time when he's doing, like, enjoyed the process of breaking it down to understand why it's so effective. And then I was like, cool. I did the same thing for mine. And I was like, yeah, that's why his is growing way faster. It's way better. Like, it is just objectively better, but I can see why, I can see where, and I have a path to improve, and using him as an inspiration instead of necessarily like, I don't know, again, jealousy or whatever negative emotion can follow.
Yeah. Well, I also think specifically with that metric, like in my first business, we obsessed so much over subscriber growth, newsletter subscriber growth. And with Startup Hype, man, I haven't really made it a point of emphasis. And honestly, the net subscribers is like flat. Like it's stayed at roughly the same count for like 5-6 years now. But I have not necessarily shown any like inability to monetize because the newsletter is not growing.
Yep.
And I use it for different, and maybe, people, the net unsubscribe equals the subscribes because there's like, some people don't like how many emails are being sent. But all in all, like I can't say this is everyone's business, but at least for me, I'm like, well, I could focus on that. And yes, there could be a funnel that's built out as a result. But if I choose to make it a vanity metric, it is a vanity metric and I can focus my efforts elsewhere. And that can be okay. And maybe someone else is growing their subscriber base way faster, but they've got a different monetization path, or their way that like their natural inclination is going to be that to optimize their success.
Right.
But that's not mine, which is similar to like, anyone who's like starting a business and they'll, if we get into like a casual conversation and they'll be like, oh, like trying to figure out like which social media platform should I get on? Do I do TikTok? Do I do Instagram? Or do I do whatever? I'm just like, do the thing that you won't hate yourself while doing it. And like, you're most likely to like, just keep doing. So like, maybe it's none of them. And maybe you like sending emails and that's what you choose. And then you don't have to worry about your TikTok presence. Maybe you like LinkedIn and you just focus there. It doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be all the things. I was like, just claim the account so no one else does. But then that's it. Like, just do the thing that will not make you not want to pick up your phone or open your computer.
Or hate yourself. Yeah, there's certain things on TikTok where I'm like, I probably could do that. This trendy thing. Nothing wrong with trendy, by the way. Like if you're doing trends, all good. But I see people doing certain things that fit their brand, and gets tons of engagement. And I'm like, I could do that. And then but I'm like, the idea of doing that, it's just like, I hate myself. And I hate that. I hate doing it. And then I go back to like, what am I great at and what do I get joy out of? Like I can write a hell of an email. And to your point, my email hasn't been growing super fast. I also have not made a concerted effort to grow the email list in about 1.5 years because I've been launching a whole business, like, doing other things. And like for you, it's like, well, did anyone make a rap album? Did whoever you're comparing to? Like, no, I spent my time doing other things that had other benefits. And the same thing on monetization. Like I know a lot of creators with much bigger audiences and much smaller bank accounts. And that is not a brag on how big mine is by any means. I'm just saying is like people can sometimes have the external credibility signals of 100,000 followers, 1 million followers, and they're not making a lot of money.
Right.
So it's like, it depends on what you want. Are you focused on monetizing? Are you focused on audience growth? There's phases for each.
On like that, like it's going to make you cringe note of things. Like I was driving the other day and I noticed there was this, like I was at a red light and on the sidewalk was this teenage girl. It must've been like after school. And she had her phone like propped up on like the fence facing her. And she was doing this whole like dance routine to record. And in my head, I was like, oh my God, this is pathetic that this is what it's come to. But then also part of me was like, but also kudos to her for having the confidence to just do this in public. Cause I cannot. Like the thing that I have not been able to bring myself to do is live, bring up my phone and start talking to it while I'm in the midst of people, like, in public. It just feels so weird and cringe for me to do.
I'm with you. And I knew that's where that was going for some reason. Like, because I've thought of it too. I saw a guy in an airport doing a video and I was like, what's funny? And I'm somewhere near like, that's cringe, but I don't care, where I'm like, dude, do whatever you want. Like, I'm not bothered. Don't get in the way of my rolly bag and I'm good.
Yeah.
But I was like, isn't it funny how if you see it in person, you're like, oh, that's cringe. But if you see it on the screen, the final product, you might like it. Like you might be like, oh, that's a cool video. She's really good at dancing. And you kind of think, because we're content creators and marketers, like, oh, and she's like, oh, wow. And she's like outside the kind of like public area. That must have been tough. But that's kind of where we leave it. So there's this like, I don't know, asymmetrical thing going on in our head, or like this weird conflict of like in person, that's super cringe, but on screen, it's totally chill. And I also think, Raj, because we were very similar in age, I think it's a generational thing where like
it is. Oh, it's
after
totally.
us, they're like, well, this isn't weird or cringe. Like this is how it's done. Where like even me, I'm like, I don't even FaceTime in public. Like one call. I'm like, that's earbud territory. You get voice only.
Yeah. I think so. I had this, mental thesis several years back, where I realized the sort of like the cutoff point is, for people like you and I, which for everyone listening, we're talking like mid entering late 30s. And I would say an older and probably 1 to 2 years, maybe within 3-4 years younger. If you look at like the progression of technology, our baseline understanding of the internet is it is a place you go to consume things from others. Like you consume from a news outlet online, you consume from a media company online. We were not introduced to it as a platform where we can create on it. Now we started to figure that out, right? Like I made an Angel Fire and GeoCities website in like 1997 and whatever. And that was our introduction, but it was very like low grade. And that's why, like, you know, there was a period where it's like, we were basically like the Facebook generation where that was the step up. It was like, you have a Facebook account, but you know, all we could really do was post photos. And then there was this shift where people born after a certain time, their introduction to the internet was, this is a place that exists for me to put things onto, not for me to look at what other people are doing. And so if that's your baseline introduction, taking your phone out in public and recording yourself isn't even a thought that you have. Whereas for us, it's like, oh my God, I can't bring myself to do that. They don't even think that that's a thing.
That's a very, very interesting and well-articulated perspective on that. I hadn't considered it in that way. Yeah. And now the next generation,
and I still have like the old man, like, get off my lawn in me in that sense too. But like, I also kind of got to respect it.
Well, dude, that's okay. So that is there's one thing that is unique to our generation that will never be, as far as I can tell, will be replicated in any way, is that we are both before internet and after internet. Like I remember with the utmost nostalgia of just not knowing if someone was home, and you just didn't get a hold of them for sometimes hours, if not days. And you weren't worried. You just were like, I don't know, Raj's bike isn't outside for the second day. Guess he's dead or on vacation. Like, I don't know. And you didn't think anything more. Right. And it's like all these things. And like going online was like a thing I had to do. Like I had to get like permission to go in my mom's room, to go on the computer, to go online. I don't even remember what it was, you know, minimal, whatever. But like it was a thing to
you
go
had to like, potentially not receive any phone calls to the house because it was connected to your phone line to get online.
And now we both make our money online. Like the majority of our livelihood is either what we're doing now, ourselves virtually selling services or whatever, or selling ad space that lives digitally. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's why I think we have this conflicted, I both get it and I'm the old man on the lawn, because I literally am both of these things. Like I remember the old ways, which makes me old, and I'm understanding of the new way because my whole business runs on the internet. Like, I don't know what I would do without it. Pump gas.
Yeah. Okay. We need to, unfortunately, wrap up this conversation. Now, this was not necessarily structured in the way most of the episodes are, but I do want to at least give the opportunity to tell people where they can find you, where they can learn more about your work.
If you are insane and have listened to the last 2 episodes in full and have gotten to the end of this episode and you want more, I have something for you. Go to, I'd say the best place to hang is probably LinkedIn. Devin Reed's in the title, I'm sure. You can go to the reeder.co, which is my website, in case you want to learn about marketing, though I've talked nothing about it. And I have the newsletter, the reeder.co/newsletter, which is on the website. So yeah, those are the 3 most popular places where you can find me.
And that's Reeder, REEDER.co.
Yeah, .com was way too expensive. I don't know what it's at now.
Now, the final question, which is how every episode of this show ends, and I apologize, I did not go back and listen to hear what your answer was back in 2019. The question is, fill in the blank. And you've changed now, right? Because you were in-house then.
Yeah, I'm curious now to know what I said and what I'll say today.
The question is, fill in the blank. Entrepreneurship is blank.
I'm going to say what came to my mind, which is literally fucking hard, and then I crossed out hard and went fucking awesome. So it's both. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And I think what makes it hard, or the fact that it's hard, is what makes it awesome and is what makes it rewarding. So there you go.
Love it. It is fucking hard and awesome all at once. All right, my friend. He is Devin Reed. He is the founder and CEO of The Reeder. Devin, thank you for joining, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
I will be texting you shortly. And I owe you a voice memo.